Minister Boyd, Robert Watson, ladies and gentlemen, it's a huge privilege to be here today, and I really want to thank SaskPower and the Government of Saskatchewan for inviting us along. Undoubtedly, this is the big event for CCS this year, and I suspect for a little while to come yet. And I'd just like to spend a bit of time today talking through some of the implications. And I think it goes without saying, but it's important to reflect once again the global significance of this occasion. This really is the world's first example of CCS at full scale on a power station. It's something that we've desired, we've hungered for so long, and it demonstrates that CCS on power is a proven technology. No longer can those that have deep ideological views about the use of fossil fuels continue to say that CCS on power doesn't exist. You guys have done it. This will build public confidence and understanding, and frankly, I think it's important to note and recognise the deep and crucial government support from the governments of Saskatchewan and Canada. And I think really pleasingly, for somebody who is somewhat jet-lagged from a very long trip to North America, this is but the first of 3 projects in North America leading the way on CCS. But I think the question that we really have to address is, so why should the launch of this project inspire action around the world? And frankly, I don't think you have to go much past this next slide to realise that it's fine to be talking about how we shouldn't use fossil fuels anymore into the future, but I frankly think that that's a misleading statement and something that frankly is not rooted in reality. BP, in their statistical review of world energy in just this year, have already identified the sorts of reserves that are available and which are economically recoverable. And I think it's important to point out here that coal has 113 years' worth of reserves, while gas and oil are both well in excess of 50 years. It's fanciful to believe that these reserves are not going to be used. But if you then go to the International Energy Agency and take a look at their new policy scenarios, i.e. those scenarios, those policies that governments around the world have committed to in pursuit of climate change action, then you see this sort of primary energy demand by fuel source over the coming period through to 2035. And frankly, those blue bars are all fossil fuels. And that scenario that's up there at the moment leads us to a 4 degrees C climate change outcome, when the world scientists are saying it needs to be no more than 2. So quite frankly, we can't reconcile the 2 positions of continued increase in fossil fuels and addressing the climate change challenge. So this is quite clearly recognised by leaders in the world of particularly important agencies that are not terribly often, at least, influenced by political views. First being Jim Yong Kim, the World Bank Group president, in pointing out that a 4 degrees C world is so different from the current one that it comes with high uncertainty and new risks that threaten our ability to anticipate and plan for future adaptation needs. And my good friend Maria van der Hoeven, the Executive Director at the IEA, in the forward to the CCS technology roadmap, I think makes a highly pertinent point. We now need to shift to a higher gear in developing CCS into a true energy option to be deployed at large scale. It is not enough to only see CCS in long-term energy scenarios as a solution that happens sometime in the distant future. We must get to its true development right here and now. And that really brings us to the view of the Institute, which can be summarised very simply as no CCS, no 2 degrees C. And we are backed in this view by a range of parties from all over the world who, when they've undertaken their own independent analysis, come to exactly the same conclusion. And you see here that some of these are represented, including the World Energy Council, the European Commission, Energy Modelling Forum 27 study, Wired magazine, and the list goes on. So frankly, it's not a choice, it's actually mandatory. So how are we tracking on projects? Well, frankly, there's a new one at the top there on Operate, and it's called Boundary Dam, and it's a great news story. And the good news story in this Operate and Execute area, i.e. those that are operating and those that are under construction, is that we've actually had a 100% increase in the number of projects in these two categories since the turn of this decade. So in a very short space of time, in under 4 years, we've moved from 11 projects operating or under construction to 22, a fantastic outcome. But I guess we'd be fooling ourselves if we didn't say that there's also a concern at the bottom of this slide, and that's that really the number of projects coming through the pipeline is slowing, and slowing quite dramatically. And this is probably reflective, to be perfectly honest, of where the world is on climate change mitigation policy and reinforces the importance of the road to Paris. So where are these large-scale CCS projects? Well, I got to say, Canada, take a bow. For an economy of your size, you really do outperform just about every other country in the world. Canada is represented here in the blue bars. It has 2 projects already in operation, another 3 under construction, and several more in the define and evaluate phases. In addition to that, of course, we have the United States, which continues to dominate in this area and has done for some time. But what I would draw your attention to is the fast mover in the pack, and that continues to be China, the only country now with 6 projects in identify phase and another 4 in define, hopefully with a number of those taking positive final investment decisions in the coming 12 to 18 months. It's also interesting to see how things have been changing with the nature of storage and the types of projects that we're seeing. So the blue circles here represent EOR, where the green is dedicated geological storage, and the size of these circles indicates the volume of expected storage. And up until now, the story has been strongly around EOR, and we cannot underestimate the value that EOR has brought to the CCS industry. It has kept it moving forward, and the knowledge and geological expertise that comes from EOR is vital to that geological storage into the future. What I think is interesting to see is that the projects that are currently planned and in many cases hopefully moving forward, increasingly we're seeing dedicated geological storage as the prime driver in storage. And I'd like to point to Boundary Dam there in that it's one of the first projects, and probably the first, to combine both types of storage, in that it's both an EOR project as well as a dedicated geological storage one. The unfortunate late-breaking news, to make sure that this presentation is accurate, is that Leucadia has unfortunately taken a decision not to proceed with the Lake Charles project, which is a rather large blue dot on that graph, and something which unfortunately we'll have to remove over the coming days. But these projects don't come forward really unless you have a shared vision and you can actually tick the box on 3 key things. You need proven technology, and to get that we need more operational projects in the power sector, because these are critical to public perceptions. And again, Boundary Dam ticks the box. On policy and regulation, CCS has to have good, solid policy and regulatory support, and that's clearly present in Canada and in Saskatchewan. And importantly, it's got to be treated equally with other low-emission technologies if we're actually going to make sure we can address climate change at the lowest possible cost. And once again, we see evidence of that in this example. Perhaps the thing that we often overlook but is highly challenging is understanding and public acceptance. And I think that we certainly recognise that, and I'd like to pay tribute to Saskatchewan and SaskPower in their understanding of why we need to do a lot more in this area. And in fact, their track record is very impressive in outreach and education. Certainly our research has shown that awareness and understanding of CCS technology is extremely low in the overall general population. But it goes along with a serious lack of understanding and engagement with the basics of energy and climate change as well. We're trying to do something about that, and we have a new website called co2degrees.com, and we have an education program that goes with it, where we're improving access to quality community and classroom-tested outreach and education materials, encouraging experts to share best practice, creating a freely sharing engaging activities and resources, and providing a platform for international knowledge sharing and activities between school-aged students learning more about a low-carbon future. And I'm really proud of the work that we've been doing here in supporting Saskatchewan, working in close collaboration with the Regina Catholic School Department, SaskPower, and education and outreach specialists from PTRC, PCORP and Richmond Community College. Now, I'm not sure if too many of you know about this, but in fact, the SaskPower people had a much bigger challenge on their hands yesterday when they wrangled 100 Year 7 students through a science centre here in Regina, teaching them all about CCS. And we were delighted to have some of our staff involved in that yesterday as well. I understand it went pretty well and it was quite a special day. And certainly I know that you can already see some short videos on YouTube from the day. Now, I'd encourage you to take a look at CO2 degrees, but before we do that, we've actually been running this around the world in the US, in the UK, Spain, Australia, Norway, and Japan. And we're just going to take a look at a short video of kids having fun and real colour and bringing life to CCS for those that will shape our future and, interestingly, regularly carry the message home to their parents. Keep an eye out for the flags in each of the videos, and you'll see the number of countries we've been to with this.
Are you ready for a challenge?
And our school was part of the first ever Carbon Kids CCS challenge.
We wrote a story about atoms, the carbon atom.
We've taken CO2 Degrees International Education Challenge, and our storybook is going global.
Hi, I'm Professor Tiago.
Hi, my name is Yvonne.
I'm Professor Bev.
My name is Rebecca.
I'm Professor Amy.
We're going to demonstrate counting carbon in parts per million.
Good luck with your experiments!
We'll be looking for your entries on the CO2 Degrees extranet.
Thank you, and I might mention that that video was actually put together to present to the students that undertook the CO2 Degrees Challenge yesterday, and they in turn, I know, have contributed to what hopefully will become a rolling series of these as we take this program to other places. And today, I think what's really important is to celebrate success. Congratulations to everyone on a world first. It's a landmark achievement for SaskPower, the government and people of Saskatchewan, and the government of Canada. And it's a huge credit to their expertise across the whole CCS chain. The lessons learned here will help other projects internationally, and I think that we have to seriously thank everybody involved and the risks that were taken and the judgments that were made that are going to lead to forever SaskPower being understood as the first one to do it. And we've really now got to move this agenda on. We're looking forward to the 2 projects in the US that are now under construction coming to fruition as well. And we have to join together, all of us, to call for action to accelerate the deployment of CCS around the world. Here in Saskatchewan, they've shown it can be done. And if it can be done here, I'm sure it can be done elsewhere as well. And I just want to end with a reflection from Ban Ki-moon just last week in New York, and why CCS, frankly, is really important. Because there is no plan B, because we don't have planet B. We've got to work and galvanise our action. So from my perspective, that's our motto from now on. There's no plan B because there's no planet B, and we better get on with CCS if we actually want to deal with climate change. So thank you very much to Mike and the team at SaskPower. Congratulations from the Institute. We've been delighted with the journey so far, and we look forward to the next stage in this as well. So thank you very much.